Dragon Slayer is an academy that exists in the video game our boy loves to play the most. The game has this typical setting where you strive to become a prominent slayer and serve humanity by eradicating the menace from this monster-infested realm. By defeating monsters and completing various quests, you can upgrade your in-game character to a force that can rival the gods themselves. And that's exactly what our boy likes about his game. He's been grinding his ass off and raising his heroes to unprecedented heights. After literally raising 1,000 NPC students to rank, the system prompts him with a special quest, an exclusive quest only he has been able to access so far. With the quest tagged as X rank, it goes without saying that the loot he's going to gather from this quest will be X rank 2. Sounds lucrative because he can enhance his heroes to EX level, especially since rank was the highest you could go just until now. As soon as he starts the quest, he finds himself transmigrated into the Dragon Slayer Academy game. Unlike many transmigration stories, this dude isn't even shocked or confused about how the hell he got into this digital world. It's as if getting pulled into the games you love is something that happens every Tuesday. Regardless, he checks his stats, and as expected, his stats currently stand at 0. No skills, no traits, no equipment, literally nothing. Then he's prompted by yet another system message. He's been granted a few special and exclusive traits for his first-time transmigration into the game. There isn't much detail given about what these traits exactly do, but let's hope to find out soon. He's hoping these traits will help him grind, level up, and become the embodiment of strength like he was before. This is where the game officially begins. Another system window prompts him to get ready for the tutorial. He'll have to survive for 10 minutes, and as a reward, he'll be granted the Dragon Slayer Academy new student kit. This puts a smile on his face, as surviving against low-level mobs doesn't even pose any threats. All he has to do is avoid attracting the attention of these mobs and let the 10 minutes pass. It's a strategy he has used in the past, but little does he know, bro is in for a great surprise. The snarling noises and heavy footsteps echoing can't be from low-level mobs. In the sky, there are literally 2 dragons duking it out. Of course, he accelerates through the forest before he loses his sorry ass in the collateral damage. He can't believe what he just witnessed. 2 S-rank bosses just for a mere tutorial quest sounds ridiculous. Perhaps this unprecedented occurrence is due to the difficulty level being X. Meanwhile, the fire dragon uses one of his magic abilities and is about to release a massive torrent of fire. The intensity of the attack is so high that if our boy doesn't leave this place, he'll be incinerated on the spot. It's then he remembers those special traits he received and decides to use one of them, the one which was dubbed Copy. As the name suggests, Copy basically allows you to temporarily copy others' traits and skills. But to successfully copy a skill, you need to take a closer look at that particular skill. The second requirement to copy a skill is that you first have to identify the target's name and rank. But being the former champion of this game, fulfilling the second requirement isn't that hard for him. And without further ado, he copies the target's trait known as elemental resistance. With the help of this elemental resistance skill, he avoids getting burned. It would be great if he could snag a skill too, but he currently can't use any due to lack of mana circulating in his body. Suddenly, he notices the wind blowing backward, all courtesy of this fire dragon who is about to exhale a massive torrent of fire. The other dragon with electricity traits is also preparing for a massive breath attack. Sensing the danger, our boy starts running in the opposite direction before he's gone for good. Breath attacks are the signature moves of dragons. Even with his elemental resistance, the risk of getting cooked alive still looms if he gets caught in the mess. As he's running away, both dragons unleash their strength, causing a massive blast. By that time, the 10-minute countdown has run out, resulting in the completion of the quest before he got cooked alive. As a reward, he's been granted the Dragon Slayer Academy uniform, a student ID, along with a train ticket. For Tutorial 2, he has to board the train to find himself at Dragon Slayer Academy. The scene promptly cuts to the train set to depart for Dragon Slayer Academy. With the high influx of students enrolling, the train is jam-packed with no seats to spare. So, one of the students with a katana asks a passenger to accommodate him in the cabin. But the only response the katana guy gets is dead silence from a girl who's sleeping soundly, without a care in the world. Right at that moment, our boy also hops on the train, hoping to get a spare seat for himself too. The katana guy sheepishly points out how this girl sleeping there doesn't seem to be in the mood to respond. Right then, the girl in question wakes up from her slumber. Our boy insists she share her spare space, and the girl seems more than willing to entertain his request. As he makes himself at home, he introduces himself as Kim Ho before thanking her for the kind gesture. The girl reciprocates the greeting and introduces herself as Seo Yain. And as for the dude with the katana, he's feeling utterly devastated to see the unfairness of this world. He didn't get permission, but our boy did. Even though no one asked, he introduced himself as Go Hun Woo. And once again, the only thing he gets in response from Seo Ya's end is dead silence. Anyhow, he too helps himself and takes his seat, grateful for the opportunity. Kim Ho questions Hun Woo about the reason he was late to catch the train. The katana guy reveals how he witnessed 2 dragons on the way, a sight so magnificent it nearly made him forget about his main agenda of the day. Well, my guy also remembers seeing those 2 monsters, but his experience wasn't that pleasant, something he'd rather avoid remembering. The train finally begins to move about this Dragon Slayer Academy. It's the place our boy kept coming back to every time he raised a new hero, so he basically knows everything about that place, like the back of his hand. This is part of the reason he isn't really excited to visit that academy, since there's nothing new to explore. Or at least that's what he thought until he boarded the train. The students in his cabin, along with the other students and train staff, Kim doesn't recall seeing any of them. They're totally unfamiliar and new people, not some random NPCs he remembers. While this world shares great similarities with the game he once knew, the cast is completely different. This also means the upcoming events and quests have been altered too. So while trekking through the game, he wants to stay cautious about the unknown. Right now, the thing bugging the hell out of him is the blank stares he's getting from the girl beside him. About Yaen, she possesses these special eyes that can turn anything into stats and comprehensible data she can use. For example, she can see through all the stats or anything she needs to know about this katana guy sitting in front of her. She can see this dude is just your average Joe with mediocre traits. But as for our boy, his stats are incomprehensible. No matter how hard she stares at him, she fails to figure out anything about his strength, making him stand out. This is exactly why she's been staring at him with a clueless expression on her face. She recalls how her manager told her to get all cozy and nice to anyone she's interested in. That way, she can get closer to them. So, taking that advice to heart, she pulls out her suitcase, consisting of some important stuff and snacks she brought for the journey. In an attempt to appear nice and get closer, she offers him one of her cookies. Of course, Kim is naturally bewildered by this sudden and unexpected gesture coming from her, but saying no would be considered rude, so he takes the cookie. To further strike up a conversation, he casually asks if she baked them, and the girl responds affirmatively. Now, it explains why the taste is pretty average. Kim then turns his attention toward Hun Woo and questions him about the peculiar long sword resting beside him. The katana guy takes major pride while revealing that this thing is a sacred relic belonging to his martial sect. The reason it's wrapped up like this is because he hasn't qualified to break its seal yet, so he's left it wrapped until the day he becomes worthy of this katana. He'll use this spare iron sword as a substitute. As they're having their conversation, a guy with blonde hair barges in impromptu. His upbeat mood and big smile totally alter the vibe of the cabin. He too stumbled here while looking for a place to sit. Kim doesn't particularly like noisy guys, and this particular guy seems kind of shady. He already knows this dude isn't here looking for a seat, so he wants him to reveal his true intentions. The suit guy feels a little awkward after getting his lies laid bare. He pulls a business card out of his coat and introduces himself as Shin Bungchul. He sells errand services to his clients, along with a bunch of other services an average person would require in their day-to-day life. He promises to find you anything for the right price, of course. Our boy expresses his skepticism, but this snake tie continues to preach the good about his services. Kim has already seen through this shady dude who's running this shady business under the radar. Even now, this dude is being chased by the authorities for promoting his illegitimate business around. Throughout his whole pitch, he kept taking glances over and over outside as if he's in deep trouble and being chased by someone. The guy denies such accusations and tries to run off before it's too late. Well, it's indeed too late already. The disciplinary committee has shown up here to take necessary action against this guy. The dude knows he's screwed. About this disciplinary committee, it's a group formed by students themselves that handles law and order within the academy walls. Yes, the same disciplinary committee that holds more power than the government itself. These guys waste no time time flaunting their authority and demanding this business guy hand over the illegitimate stuff he isn't supposed to carry here. Poor dude tries to defend himself, highlighting how negligible his offense is. Yet, he's being treated like some up cannibalistic serial killer on a leash. The head of the disciplinary committee immediately penalizes the poor guy with an electric shock for not cooperating enough. She's a lightning-type mage, something Kim finds very special and unique about her. After all, lightning-type mages aren't easy to find. Conveniently enough, he has one of the copy skill slots empty, meaning he has the perfect chance to grab her skill while he has the time. So Kim decides to put this tasteless cookie to some better use. He promptly throws it on the ground, ready to use it as leverage against the disciplinary committee. Meanwhile, the disciplinary committee leader is already planning to proceed with the next step, now that this shady dude has once again refused to cooperate. The only option she has left is to subdue him forcefully and confiscate everything from him. She throws a bolt of lightning shaped like a hummingbird, ready to penetrate the poor guy's body. When it looks like this dude is going to get screwed, my guy extends his hand and grabs that lightning attack before it can hit the target. Of course, that leaves the disciplinary lady in absolute awe. My guy, meanwhile, appears out of the cabin complaining how the commotion caused by the disciplinary committee had him drop his lovely cookie. The lady has no clue what this clown is on about, while my guy has already succeeded in his main agenda. He has acquired her lightning attribute magic skill known as Hummingbird. Our boy talks about the loss of his beloved and most treasured companion a man could ever ask for, a cookie. With the cookie life ruined, he blames the annoying student council members for ruining his day as well. One of the council members doesn't take his excuse lightly and thinks it's a ridiculous reason to try and interrupt them. Korean Jesus over here apparently wants to throw hands and threatens to harm our boy. In response, Hun-woo reaches for his sword as well, stating that if they're going to do this the hard way, then he won't hesitate to treat them accordingly. With both parties at a stalemate, we get a basic shot of them glaring at each other, to see who's going to make the first move. Deciding to resolve things diplomatically, the leader of the council stops her impulsive subordinate and offers a free dessert coupon for Kim Ho's invaluable loss. Our boy is quickly satisfied with that exchange, leaving Byung-chu all on his own again. Truth be told, he never wanted to save the guy's ass to begin with. He just wanted to copy the lightning skill. Now that he has it, Broa's got everything he needs with a skill slot and a trait slot fulfilled. Moments afterwards, the president of the council retrieves the item that Byung-chul apparently stole. It's actually a damn wig stolen from one of the station attendants. Given that Byung-chul is a dog for money, he ended up doing a commission prank. Even Kim Ho thinks that this one is totally his fault. While leaving, the pretty girl warns our boy to stay cautious of Byung-chul and his schemes if he wants what's good for him. But Kim Ho doesn't really like it when other people tell him what to do and believes that he'll handle the situation on his own. Korean Jesus warns our boy and promises to remember his face for the future. And as for Hyun-woo, he's busy investigating the discipline committee and learns from Byung-cho that these guys are the best of all the elites. Their current president, the one who shot the hummingbird spell, is called Song Chun-hee. Her name is so recognizable, in fact, that Hun-woo realizes that she belongs to the famous Song family, the one that governs the Topaz Tower. This woman, apart from her good looks and immaculate outfit choices, isn't someone to be messed around with. Her grandpa is the Thunder Lord Song Yong-yun. And let me tell you what, I don't even know the guy, and I already feel sorry for Chun-hee's future boyfriend. As for the background on the chumps that were following her, they're not exactly some randoms either. Among them is Jo Bok, a notable student of the Fist King. Then there's Han S., an excellent student of the Sword Empress herself. Finally, there's Gam Yoan. And even though I'm mocking the dude, he's actually the lone heir of the Golden Lotus Pavilion. After running an introduction to the committee members, Byung-chul thinks that it's time for him to head out. With him gone, Hyun-woo curiously turns to our boy, addressing the whole cookie sacrifice ordeal that he pulled off. It strikes him as strange that Kim Ho would risk himself in a fight over a single cookie. Revealing the truth, Kim Ho states that he actually came in to check on the epic lightning magic used by Chun-hee. This explanation surprises Hyun-woo because he did see our boy stepping in to block the hummingbird spell, which leads to Kim Ho quizzing his knowledge of the spell. Brainstorming for a minute, Hyun-woo reflects that he hadn't seen a usage of the spell ever before, and even having caught a visual demonstration of it, he couldn't even see the released lightning hummingbird. It's as if the attack never intended to damage its victim in the first place, but rather stunning them in place. Kim Ho hears hears his explanation and agrees with half of what he said. He goes on to delve deeper on why it's called the hummingbird spell in the first place, as it is inspired by the unique flight pattern of the bird. You see, in a typical demonstration of the spell, its performance hinges on the ability of the mage. The fact that she used the hummingbird is a testament to Chunhee's skills. Now, if our boy was up against a professional mage, he wouldn't have been able to catch the hummingbird, as the caster would easily be able to manipulate the flight pattern. But strangely, instead of altering its pattern, it ended up getting caught in his hand. That only signifies one thing: Chunhee needs improvement when it comes to her control of her ability. At this point, Hyunwoo is genuinely impressed by our boy's in-depth explanation and fascination for a spell. By the way, there's one other observation that Kim-ho made when the spell fired off. He assesses that Chunhee is talented for being able to use an E-rank ability with only a D-rank strength stat, further implying that she has access to either a strong trait and even raises the possibility that she might be loaded with internal mana. In any case, Kim-ho thinks that she'll easily live up to her reputation as the Thunderlord's granddaughter. Focusing back to Hyun-woo, he's quickly become a fan and friend of our boy in their short time interacting with each other. Kim-ho thinks that this guy's exaggerating it a little bit, but Hyun-woo is pretty serious about this and even offers to help him out whenever the guy needs his help. Appreciating the gesture, Kim-ho immediately decides to use this opportunity and tasks him to come with him. At the same time, he politely requests a sudden favor to borrow 1 silver coin. In the next scene, we arrive to Kim-ho's chosen location. Sadly, the machine is out of order, and yes, it's a gambling machine because this place once used to be a casino. The machine appears run down and broken Hyun-woo's eyes, and yet Kim-ho is willing to bet all his life savings on it. In other words, the one singular coin he obtained from Hyun-woo. The moment he enters the coin, initially, nothing happens, causing them to wonder if it's really broken. But suddenly, the machine fires up and turns on, unlocking a hidden event called the broken slot machine. Of course, it's something that Kim-ho knows due to him unlocking every achievement in the damn game. Using this as his golden ticket, our boy pulls the lever back, banking on the roll. But to both of their disappointment, the only thing he ends up obtaining in the end is a water bottle. Yes, not the wooden stick of destruction, or the unyielding forks, or even the secret American technique called the farmer's shotgun. Just a water bottle. Hyun-woo doesn't get what Kim-ho is doing over here, while our boy quickly explains that what they're doing is actually in direct violation to the rules of the academy, because obtaining any item from the machine is considered wrong. This makes Hyun-woo realize that he's basically standing by as a watchman, while our boy is using the lever back-to-back in order to reap the rewards of the machine. He also suspects that they'll be fine because the committee generally doesn't come by. And well, let's just add that to a famous last words before death documentary, because only 1 second after the discipline committee member Sman quickly comes to check on what they're doing. Sman reminds them of the consequences of using the machine, which will result in demerits. Clearly, the situation is flipped over its head, causing our boy to instruct Hyun-woo to keep her busy for a bit. The cute girl also reminds Kim-ho's accomplice that he's going to get punished too for helping a student violate rules. But to her disappointment, Hyun-woo genuinely doesn't mind facing the consequences. In fact, he unsheathes his blade, intrigued to test his abilities against the student of the Sword Empress. Sman also decides to get ready for the battle and learns about his name. Without wasting time on any more introductions, Sman lunges into the battle with a powerful initial thrust. Her heavy attack is blocked by Hyun-woo, who then initiates a counterattack. However, Sman evades it without any trouble. After maintaining some distance, Sman channels some energy into her weapon and bolts ahead with incredible speed. Taking to the air, she uses her entire body weight for a downward strike. The force of her attack is so heavy that Hyun-woo uses both his hands to block it. Kim-ho is also watching the fight unfold, realizing that Hyun-woo is severely lacking when it comes to internal energy, hindering his performance in the fight. At the same time, our boy doesn't want things to get over too quickly because he's here for the full show. Gesturing his hand towards the swordsman, Kim-ho supplies an amplification spell, boosting the swordsman's magic core from grade E to grade C. However, this buff has a time limit of 1 minute and a cooldown period of 1 hour as well. This singular minute is the deciding factor for Hyun-woo, who is still struggling to keep up with the impressive Sman. The battle continues as the timer runs down to 14 seconds. coins, making Kim-ho reflect that slot machines are usually avoided because of their inherent gambling nature. However, there is a piece of knowledge that none of the players know about. Its secret feature is actually the guaranteed jackpot trigger. Think of it as a pity system when it comes to your average Gotacha game. Initially, the players start the game with 5 coins, and right now, it's Kim-ho's 5th and final spin. This time, however, he's dead confident in using the extra piece of silver he borrowed from Hyan Wu. Turns out that right after the 5th spin is over, the 6th spin confirms a jackpot guarantee. It's not even a fair chance, but a guaranteed 100% chance of hitting the best reward. The slot machine finally turns out the best thing it has to offer, which in this case is the dark ice crystal of rank C. The crystal comes with a potential hazard that it could cause the player's own death if used incorrectly. Anyway, the situation gets troublesome for our boy because the blue-haired baddie is about to stab him from behind. However, Kim-ho was ready for that and knew that his trusted companion would step in to help him. Hun-woo does end up deflecting the blow, but at the cost of shattering his iron sword. The time duration comes to an end, but to Sman's shock and horror, this man literally drinks the dark ice crystals even after reading the warning sign. Right away, the system initiates a status of frozen on his body. As you can expect, Bro starts choking out like that one satisfying scene where Joffrey gets poisoned in Game of Thrones. But interestingly, in our boy's case, the frozen status keeps applying and removing itself, causing an unending loop. And only 1 second later, Kim-ho rises like nothing even happened, stunning both the committee member and Hyun-woo. Shortly after this scene, Hyun-woo asks about what he consumed from the vial, to which Kim-ho responds that it was a mana-replenishing elixir. Let's talk more about the unique 6th spin of the slot machine. Upon usage, it releases the dark ice crystal, but this thing is seriously lethal for most beginners that come across it, resulting in a horrendous death. It's so deadly that a piece smaller than a fingernail is enough to freeze your entire body into a statue. Basically, think of it like Medusa's petrification ability, but this time, you're consuming your own demise. As deadly as it may be, Kim-ho outlines that he's the exception to the rule. Why? It's because of his S-rank elemental resistance. You know, the one trait he obtained from the S-rank dragon in his tutorial quest. Because of that, his body has now entered a never-ending loop of applying and removing the frozen status, nullifying it completely. But not just that, he also gains an easy access to the immense energy after consuming the crystals. As for how he handled the committee member, Bro used his male manipulator gaslighting pro-max skills to fool her with a false explanation. Anyway, Hyun-woo's pretty satisfied being able to help out our boy because it also led to him testing his own skills against the student of the Sword Empress. Kim-ho thanks him all the same because he couldn't have pulled off the 6th turn without his help. The swordsman is thoroughly intrigued by Kim-ho's amplification skill that he used during the fight. However, our boy turns him down and states that he can't use it anytime he pleases, which is actually true because of the cooldown factor. Kim-ho's explanation is fair because even Hyun-woo understands that a powerful skill like that must have its own drawbacks. As for the sleepyhead Yan, she's barely catching on to their words. Speaking of which, our trio is about to reach their destination called the Dungeon Island, the final station of the train. Dungeon Island is famous for its enormous number of dungeons, and it was formerly a place reeking of criminals who didn't exercise any kind of law. Everything changed when the Dragon Slayer, the first and most memorable hero, made his mark on the island. First, he took care of every last criminal. Then, he conquered all the dungeons on his own, and finally built a city using the island as its foundation. That city led to the creation of the Dragon Slayer Academy, the place that fosters the growth of incredible warriors. Arriving at the institution at last, Hyun-woo is amazed by the attitude of the crowd. The place is filled to the brim with many different students coming from all walks of life. Unexpectedly, the trio ends up bumping into Chun-hee, the committee leader, who wants to see our boy back in her office. The scene cuts to the meeting in the committee room, a place of interrogation that is notorious for being so frighteningly life-changing that anyone who goes inside never returns the same. The interrogation kicks off with the committee testing his body for a checkup after he consumed the crystals. Of course, nothing comes up because the frozen status is no longer there. It leads to the committee doubting the legitimacy of the forbidden item in the first place. The interrogator Si-hun, who is also the head of the interrogation department, makes it clear that if he dares to disobey the council, he'll get punished properly for the consequence. Even though no one got hurt this time around, they're not going to be lenient with our boy if he ends up here a second time. With that, the meeting concludes, much to the disappointment of the council leader. The thing is, the entire situation seems sketchy from start to finish. They don't understand our boy's intention to even use the machine if he wasn't aiming to obtain the forbidden item. And then there's the fact that the kid consumed it in front of their eyes. And in the end, nothing came up in the scanner report. Based on her observation, Chunhee strongly believes that their suspect has obtained some kind of illegal skill, and she recommends checking his current skills with something called the magnifying glass. Seohun agrees that they could do that, but highlights the problems that arise when nothing comes up as a consequence. If they use the method of magnifying glass, they have to be certain in their claims. Chunhee quickly realizes her faults and apologizes, while the senior tells her to handle things with patience. He also recommends that she quickly hurry to the entrance ceremony, or else she'll miss it. In the next scene, we have our boy returning to his group among the other freshmen. He's just completed tutorial number 3 by attending the ceremony on time, rewarding him with a few silver coins and a weapon selection ticket. Even though it's classed as rank E, it's better than not having anything at all. With this, he's also assured himself a good return on the coins he lost. Anyway, the entrance ceremony quickly begins, but it doesn't exactly give off the best impression ever. You see, the dude who comes to represent the school appears to be a low-tier junkie who looks like he's being paid to talk. Apparently, this guy once used to be the leader of the main Dragon Slayer squad. Because of tradition, the principal of the academy is always selected among the retired heroes who served on the front lines. Back at his prime, this same dude held a fancy-ass sword and stood at the top among other heroes. So, aside from his looks, the guy is pretty cracked. Hilariously, he's infamous for being rejected by a certain saints and some suspect that it happened recently as well. I think I finally understand why bro looks like the way he does. He's battling the almighty friend zone. Anyway, the principal starts off by welcoming the new students of the academy. He talks about the academy's foundation, which as its name suggests, is to create heroes to defeat dragons and help nurture them to become proper dragon slayers. The first hero of their time emphasized the word slaying because he sought each of the students to understand the importance of becoming one. Kim-ho understands that this is supposed to be a welcoming announcement, but goddamn, the yap session is so long and cumbersome that half the students are falling asleep. I'm going to go ahead and do you guys a favor by skipping the unending announcement dialogue. We get to the part where this man finally comes to the end of his announcement. The announcement concludes, and the only person excited like a puppy is none other than Hyun-woo, who finds it a meaningful experience. While any normal person like our boy couldn't stand it one bit, the swordsman has apparently grown used to long yap sessions because of his old master's ranting. Anyway, the ceremony reaches its second stage as the students are reminded of the updated list of forbidden items for the year. If they're found possessing such items, they'll face consequences accordingly. Aside from that, the new students are going to be tested in the ground level of a dungeon to prevent any risks in the future. Instructor for Eyes places importance on keeping it a safe environment for everyone and reminds them to follow rules. With that, the ceremony reaches its end. The students are in disbelief. The eternal announcement of death has finally ended. Right away, Byung-chul finds our trio and offers to get food with them. Also, it appears the dude has found himself a new tattoo because he probably pissed off the cute beast in the background. Anyway, Byung-cho tells them to eat well because starting from tomorrow, their lives will change with the first class. That same night, Hyun-woo and Kim-ho pleasantly discover that they're going to be dorm neighbors from now on. Our boy quickly goes inside to get comfortable, but he can't allow himself the sweetness of sleep just yet. Instead, he sits on his bed in a meditative stance, focusing all of his efforts to accumulate mana and build a core. It's about time we talk about the concept of a power engine. To use any skill that requires mana, one needs the use of a core. In reality, our boy has never crafted one before, but because he's played this game more times than he can count, he knows the theoretical aspect of it. Plus, he's already imbued a dark ice crystal with his mana, so that's pretty good for him, too. The perspective cuts to Hyun-woo, who also appears to be in a meditative position, analyzing his fight against the incredible Sman. She has been his real opponent for a long time, and though they were both holding back much of their strength during the duel, the result would have been a lot harder to conclude in a real match. In reality, when Kim-ho came up and buffed the swordsman's core, he allowed this guy to survive much longer than he should have. In other words, Hyun-woo thinks of our boy boy as a master. It's the impression that remains constant in all of his interactions with Kim-ho. Not only does this guy maintain a calm composure, but he also has a sharp head on his shoulders to see through any situation. That's why Hun-woo is at a crossroads and wonders if he can really trust him and ask for his help. However, he quickly comes to the conclusion that it isn't right to make it a transactional relationship with his first friend. Instead, he prioritizes helping himself with his own abilities. And that leads us to the next day at the temporary classroom. The students are all gathered here chatting about, and the sleepy Yane has finally arrived too, even though her groupmates thought she'd end up pretty late. Surprisingly, the classroom doesn't have a teacher around. The class has already begun, but still, no one's here to take control, which leads to the impression that their teacher isn't a punctual person. Finally, someone steps up and enters their class, causing the students to feel excited at first, but horrified in the next moment. Yeah, well, you'd understand too once you see this guy's face. Looking like a serial killer who has just escaped jail, the teacher announces himself as their homeroom teacher, Lee Sudok. Right away, he addresses one of his students to inform everyone of his famous name. The terrified girl quickly reveals that he's known as the villain hunter. She gets it wrong and tries again by calling him the human butcher, which is another one of his nicknames. Meanwhile, our boy is reflecting on his understanding of the situation. Let's zoom out and focus on the Academy's world itself. This place is the one stronghold where countless S-rank heroes are forged with limit-breaking capabilities. Of course, some of them turn out to be terrible people and become villains to fulfill their own goals. Sudok, their teacher, is actually a hunter who tracks down such people and beats the boss out of them. In other words, this man is the definition of aura because he's out here beating dangerous S-rankers for sport. In fact, he got his name because he's notorious for killing more villains than capturing them. Sudok makes it clear that he didn't want to become a teacher and only applied upon the insistence of the principal. He's someone no one wants to wow with, and he's known for his perfect execution. And with this task of teaching, he intends to do the same with his students. Bro is so horny for perfection that he outright threatens to kill the students if they fail his exams. Ah, yes. What better motivation than literally having your life on the line? Initiating his first class, Sudok addresses the grading system of their school. First off, the written exam criteria qualifies for 30% of the total score. Then there's a behavioral score of 10% for maintaining a clean record, a freebie for behaving well. Of course, the same score can easily drop to 0% if the students aren't careful and affect their overall grade. Sudok sarcastically states that he's going to make sure to keep an eye on each one of them so that he'll get to see at least a bunch of his students survive graduation. Next up, he talks about the practical exams encompassing two sections: dungeon quests and player versus player matches. As the name implies, the students will be tasked to conquer dungeons and then face off against each other for a score. The ranking criteria for this will be rated relatively to the other students. Long story short, with 3 sections encompassing 90% of the score and the attitude section containing the last 10%, the overall evaluation reaches a total score of 100. With the scoring criteria resolved, the teacher wastes no time taking his freshmen to the arena. Here, there's already multiple matches going on. Remember what Bung Chul felt so excited about yesterday? The player matches is what he meant. The rules of the match are known for changing from time to time depending on the setting. For this specific event, the rule is classified as a death match and not a literal one. It just means that the duel will go on until one person's health bar hits 0 or if they're incapable of continuing the fight. They can also surrender, and there's a total time limit of 5 minutes for each battle. If neither fighter can resolve the duel in a set duration, the match ends in a draw or reaches its conclusion via a judge. Bung Chul also states that the participants will face off against 3 random opponents from the same year, netting them a total of 300 points for every victory scored. But what about the cost of losing or drawing? To that, Kim-ho quickly states that there isn't any negative marking, but no one's going to get a participation reward for it either. Suddenly, a system notification pops up, alarming him of a subquest mission through the placement exam. Our boy is required to participate and score at least average results in the exam, which means beating one of his opponents. If he successfully completes the quest, his reward is an extra copy slot. To be honest, it's a pretty convenient quest according to Kim-ho's standards, because one victory and an average score in the dungeon conquest isn't difficult to obtain. However, something even more important to his attention is actually the opportunity to learn about the skills of the other students, because here, he'll be able to spot exceptional talent, which he can later use in his quest to create X-level heroes. If not that, he can always copy their traits or skills to his own advantage. Just a few moments after his thoughts, the announcer calls our boy's name alongside his opponent to step to the battlefield. Right away, Kim-ho sees the scarlet-haired beauty representing the Ruby Tower, who specializes in flame magic. They're known for their high-damage firepower, which is also the reason Kim-ho loved maining them back when he played the game. However, right now, this girl's about to become his test subject for the upcoming 5 minutes. By the way, she's a bit disappointed going up against a dude with zero reputation surrounding his name. To her, he's just a damn nobody. Not just that, he's carrying a sorry-ass earth staff, which honestly looks like a glorified can for an old man. It's almost insulting to her that he's brought a pathetic E-rank staff. From these observations, she concludes that her opponent definitely isn't from the Emerald Tower, which also implies that he's not an Earth specialist mage. This makes her wonder if his goal is to use support magic with the staff. She theorizes on his usage of the staff. As their fight quickly kicks into motion, Yana treats him as a supporter caster and prepares a powerful combustion skill, deciding to end the battle in one move. Right after she cast her ability, the audience found themselves enamored with her representation of the Ruby Tower. However, to Yana's complete shock, her opponent's health is fully intact. It's true that she wasn't expecting a one-hit kill, but the fact that she couldn't even dent this guy is just insane. When the smoke clears, our boy confidently smiles at her confused state. The fight is on, and Yanhwa is already on edge, questioning why her attack didn't connect. Thinking that her opponent must have deployed the Dispel ability, she changes tactics and decides to use a spell that can't even be blocked by a Dispel technique. What she does is cast a column of explosive flames all around him, forcing her opponent to choose his options carefully, as any misstep could be detrimental. But to her shock, our boy remains unaffected. That's right. Look at him standing majestic without even trying. It pisses of Yanhwa to the point she casts a third ability, invoking a powerful spell called the Fire Pillar. The attack is aimed right towards Kim-ho's head and detonates in a firestorm. Upon impact, the large column of flame shocks the crowd, impressing them once more with the might of a powerful representative of the Ruby Tower. However, things aren't as conclusive as they seem, because once again Kim-ho appears completely unharmed. All this time, she has been banking on her confidence with the spells of the Ruby Tower, and yet nothing is even leaving a dent on his health. In response, our boy finally makes his move, deploying the same hummingbird technique he picked up from Chunhee. Clearly, Yana wasn't expecting a lightning spell coming being used by a support type. She manages to evade the bird initially, but Kim-ho skillfully changes its trajectory to strike her from behind. Yes, he just gave her a back shot charged by lightning. On her knees, Yanhwa succumbs to the paralysis effect of the hummingbird spell. With the duel reaching its definitive conclusion, our boy recommends they end the fight. He thinks it's going to be terrible for his opponent if she ends up revealing her entire arsenal to the rest of the crowd. It's going to be problematic for her future matches to come. Despite his condescending words, Yanhwa ultimately decides to accept defeat, shocking the crowd completely. Their expectations were completely subverted, just like the atrocious ending of Game of Thrones. Anyway, Kim-ho doesn't like the fact that he's gathered so much attention right in his first battle, so he intends to be cautious from now on. Hilariously, he gets called up again for his next fight, not giving him any time to rest. This time, Chunhee is going to be our boy's opponent. Yes, the same stylish baddie and the head of the first-year disciplinary committee. She's flexing her aura, but more importantly, she's got an issue to resolve with Kim-ho. Bro looks at her for a moment and just to besh. With her plans, he surrenders from the fight before it even begins. Sudok is baffled by his sudden withdrawal, while Kim-ho simply reasons that he's no longer in a state to fight anymore, even though the teacher suggests that he raise his score for the exam. Our boy doesn't really give a crap, as he's already achieved the one victory he wanted. He also initiates a complete forfeit for his third fight, too, counting as his second and third loss, and further pissing off the Thunderlord's granddaughter. She roars at him for being pathetic and for having a weak heart, unlike her grandfather, who always advised to fight with resolve. Speaking of her grandfather, Kim-ho remembers that he used to be the Thunder Monarch at some point. He can sense his shadow in Chunhee's demeanor. In any other context, the advice she gave here is actually useful, but in his specific case, it doesn't really mean a thing, nor does he care. Bro straight up walks away maintaining the same stance and handing her the win. win. Chun-hee begrudgingly accepts the outcome, even though she thinks it's supremely disappointing from his side. Before leaving, Mr. Rage Bader 9000 tells Chun-hee to also send him his beloved dessert coupon that she promised. That little snarky comment gets under her skin so bad that it's a miracle she doesn't explode. Can't say the same for her next opponent, though. Yang Ji-hong appears in the arena expecting a nice fight against someone from the Topaz Tower, but he had no idea that he caught Lady Lightning over here at a bad time. The result? Well, she obliterates his body with lightning strike from Zeus, and within the first second of the battle, the fight is already over. The burns on her opponent's body are pretty bad, adding to her overall terrifying aura in Byung-chul's eyes, who thinks that Kim-ho made the excellent decision to stay the F out of her sight by forfeiting the fight. Did I just drop a bar? Ironically, she's glaring at him with a bombastic side-eye with so much intensity that even Byung-cho couldn't avoid noticing it. But our boy doesn't care, or maybe he's too ignorant for his own good. He's impressed by her flashy debut as the Thunderlord's granddaughter. Meanwhile, the rest of the audience is actually fed up with the way Kim-ho forfeited his second and third fight. They're starting to think that dumb luck is the only reason he survived against Yana, and it's exactly the kind of perception that our boy wants his image to be. So while shit-talking is usually a bad thing, in his case, it's a positive thing. Anyway, Chun-hee is queued up for her third and final fight, but only this time she's up against the beautiful Seo Yain, also known as Korean John Wick's daughter. To everyone's surprise, Yang ended up as a gun duelist. This fight is building up to be something worth watching because gunners typically have a unique advantage when it comes to facing off mages. People are starting to think that maybe Chun-hee will lose this duel after all, but our boy thinks that it's too uncertain for now, so they'll have to let things play out. To make it even more fun, Kim-ho is happy to place a bet to determine the victor for 5 silver coins. Being the greedy little rat that Byung-chul is, he immediately accepts the bet. The fight between the resolute granddaughter of the Thunderlord and the mysterious and emotionless duelist officially kicks off. Yain seizes the advantage by firing off numerous shots via her amplified bullets. As expected of Chun-hee, the girl quickly blocks the bullets with little to no difficulty. Things are going just as expected in the eyes of Kim-ho because he fully understands that Chun-hee's mana pool is exceptional. What she does next is conjure up numerous hummingbird spells. The birds are advancing their way to Yain, who is still focusing on shooting her shots. The gunner manages to evade both of the birds, but just like our boy, Chun-hee commands and controls the birds to alter their trajectory and attack Yane from behind. Unfortunately, she gets swiped across her face, stunning her immediately and knocking Yane to the ground. Of course, it wasn't a direct hit, because if it had been, the stun effect would bring about the end of the fight. Still, Kim-ho says that it still slowed down Yan's movement, and with the first bird electrocuting Yan, it's obvious that she won't be able to dodge the next attack. So, things are playing out exactly like our boy predicted and will result in Chun-hee's victory. But then comes an element of surprise. The badass Yain throws out a smoke grenade to confuse her opponent, causing the smoke to blind her vision. It's an interesting tactic that surprises Kim-ho, because any other grenade wouldn't have landed against Chun-hee. With the smoke covering her vision, the battle has become complicated for the lightning mage. And it's here where Yane can finally hone in on her advantage. The gunner takes aim and connects a proper shot against Chun-hee's back, a direct hit. At first glance, it seems like the attack actually hit her, but luckily, Chun-hee casted a defensive barrier at the last moment and still found herself off guard. She realizes that she's in grave danger in this situation, while the gunner quickly positions herself to take another shot. Interestingly, Byung-cho points out that Yane must be some kind of rich daughter of a millionaire because she's actually using an invisibility cloak as part of her gear. Not just that, she whipped out an epic rifle to deal more damage too. One shot from the rifle is so threatening that Chun-hee doesn't risk blocking it. She only dodges by a couple of inches. At present, their health bars are roughly equal, and half the duration for the fight has already expired. The problem with the invisibility cloak is that Chun-hee can't spot her opponent at all. She's off guard every time Yain shoots another shot, which is exactly what the gunner does when she attacks from behind again. However, this time, Chun-hee prepares a tactic of her own. Thanks to her barrier, she's able to track down the mana bullet's exact trajectory, helping her narrow down her opponent's exact position. In the small time window she has, the determined lightning mage unleashes a wave of electricity on the ground, causing it to make its way to Yain and forcing her to leap away. Despite having escaped the initial attack, attack, she's in trouble because Chunhia has locked her sights. Then there's the fact that the gunner won't be able to dodge her next attack while in midair. The hummingbird quickly makes its way to Yain, stunning her with a solid direct hit. Unfortunately for Chunhee, the moment the attack connects is exactly when the time duration runs out. Even though Yang flops to the ground with a lower health bar than Chunhee, the fight is over. Baek is shocked while Kim-ho appears unsurprised because after seeing the committee leader's skill, he can confidently say that no one can best her in a direct flight by default. Because Chun has more health, she is ruled as the victor. At the same time, he finds Yane's abilities to be rather impressive to have lasted this long. As for the bet, poor Byung-chu ends up losing and surrenders the coins. But he wants to place another one right away to gain back the money. Our boy realizes that this dude is addicted to gambling, so he declines the offer. Back at the arena, the majestic swordsman Hun Woo has arrived to face his opponent, the Fist King's disciple, Jo Bak. Because this fight appears interesting, Kim-ho agrees to the bet and concludes that the Fist King will likely win. Byung-cho thinks our boy is far too ruthless to his own friends to say something like that, but Kim-ho is just stating the facts of the matter. Of course, the gambling addict doesn't understand his point, but Kim-ho expresses that he'll find out soon enough. Let's get to Hyun Woo's perspective, who understands that his friend is watching. This time, he intends to show his best skills, even though it's going to be tough for him. He unsheathed the iron sword while his opponent, Bayak, wonders why he refuses to use the blade on his back. Unfortunately, Hunggu expresses that he's unfit for it for now, but the Fist King's disciple doesn't really care. After all, he plans on dealing his 100% going into this fight. With both fighters preparing their battle stance, the fight kicks off. The assault is Bio, who outmaneuvers against the swordsman's first slash and quickly gets into position for a fiery punch. Even Hyan Woo can testify that this guy's movements are top tier. By the way, that punch just now is so damn strong that Hyan Woo could feel the full weight of it even after blocking. In fact, his entire body is sent flying from the impact alone. Hyun Woo fully understands the critical situation he's in. Normal attacks just won't help him last in this fight. As for his opponent, Bak launches himself like a damn torpedo for another strike, while the swordsman prepares to end this fight with a single move, unleashing his clear-stream sword technique. He faces off against Bai's enhanced punches. Unfortunately, reality is disappointing for Hyan Woo as his blade shatters during their clash. With his weapon out of commission, the swordsman, the swordless man, quickly accepts defeat. By the way, he did manage to leave a small cut across Bak's shoulder, who looks forward to their next encounter. The fight concludes just the way Kim-ho predicted because the iron sword is a really weak weapon for someone like Hyun Woo's skills. That's the first thing that came to our boy's mind when he saw the guy fighting in the train. It's like Hyun Woo has some kind of obsession with breaking his iron swords in every fight he's in. Bish, on the other hand, is suffering from yet another upset. Poor guy is snuffed out by our boy who expects his timely payment. Since Byung-chul is running short on silver coins, Kim-ho offers him a chance to pay in some other way. Our boy insists that he pay up by offering him a good chunk of information. Later that day, they share lunch together because the announcer revealed that there will be a raid placement exam after the break. The trio sits together while our boy grows impatient with this numbum skull eating so slowly. Byung-cho wraps up his sandwich and asks what he wants, causing our boy to inquire about the top performers from all four factions. Byung doesn't care about sharing this much, believing that this kind of information isn't that special to begin with. Let's talk about the four major factions and what they represent. Aside from the Student Council, which is the official group of the Academy, there are four major factions. There's the Mermum Alliance, the Guild Federation, the Magic Tower Society, and the Knights Order. I'm not going to lie, that's like four different Manoa universes jam-packed into one school. As for the leader of each faction, there's the majestic grandson of the Sword Saint who commands the Merm Alliance, Moyong Jun. Next up is the Ruby Tower's representative who holds command over the Magic Tower Society, Hong Yanhwa. Yes, the same girl who was helpless in her fight against our boy is actually a prominent member of her society. Thirdly, we have the Guild Federation ruled by Druid Park Nari, who is famous for her tiger-striped cat. Interestingly, there's another member in her guild who apparently hides their strength. Finally, we have the Swordmaster's son. See, literally a manhwa title right there. I didn't know Jin Run Candle reincarnated into this universe. Anyway, Lee Seong-hun represents the Knights Order as the fourth and final faction. The lineup is pretty damn impressive. impressive, according to the list Byung-cho has shared. Suddenly, it dawns on them that Hun-woo is nowhere to be found. Baek remembers about the club president and quickly dashes away in worry, leaving Kim-ho wondering what's up with the guy. With him gone, he's left alone with the silent Yane. You see, Kim-ho feels like the girl is extremely isolated and he feels bad for her in a way. So, he tries sparking a conversation about the cookie she shared with him the other day. Kim-ho shares that he received a coupon from Chun-hee, so he's happy to treat her back for the cookies. The coupon manifests a nice blueberry cake, and Yanni happily accepts joining in. While eating the cake, she asks for his opinion on her duel against Chun-hee and why he thinks she lost. Kim-ho quickly answers that normal mana bullets just can't pierce mana barriers, which means it's seriously difficult for her to win against a mage with a high mana pool. At the same time, Kim-ho believes that if Yain hones her talent to amplify her bullets, she can turn the tide. Of course, the gunner doesn't get the appeal of training mana, and to his shock, our boy learns that she's never done mana training in her entire life. Curious, he inquires about her process of conjuring mana bullets, inviting a confused look on her face.